homeless in Lewisham and on the housing register will have new high-quality secure council homes for social rent in addition to the 49 council homes already on the estate. Council home building is vital when there are nearly 10,000 households in housing need on the council's register, with nearly 2,200 families sleeping in temporary accommodation and between 600 and 700 in nightly paid. That figure changes each night because of the housing crisis. This is a human tragedy and everyone deserves a safe and secure home. We are living in this housing crisis. Homelessness is all around us. One of my first pieces of casework when I was elected a councillor was to help someone who lived off Queen's Road in a garden shed, and he lived there for 15 years. Government policy of right to buy has also taken away housing stock without that stock being replaced, and 271,438 council homes have been lost to right to buy in London alone. So we need to build more housing. Therefore, in December 2018, Mayor and Cabinet asked officers to work with the residents of Achilles Street estate to create a landlord offer that provides all of the current council tenants and resident leaseholders with brand new homes and sets out how the number of council-owned homes for social rent in Achilles Street can be significantly increased. The report is based on extensive engagement with residents on the Achilles Street estate to create an offer that works for people who live there. All council tenants will receive a brand new council homes on the estate, and their rent will not change. All resident leaseholders will receive a new home for no additional cost on the rebuilt estate. We are also offering new council homes, and I'm particularly proud of this, new council homes to families who are on the estate in temporary accommodation to keep the community together. The Achilles Street landlord offer set out in this report this evening provides a fantastic opportunity for current residents and means that they can make a clear choice, because it's up to them, as to whether they want the regeneration of the estate to go ahead or not. Ultimately, the decision rests with residents. They have a chance to design a new neighbourhood that will foster a greater sense of community and deliver the type of homes that they indeed want to see themselves. We hope they make the most of this opportunity contained in the offer when the ballot launches in a few weeks' time. Finally, we have considered infill, but it cannot generate the number of homes that we need to try and alleviate the housing crisis. Officers say that we can only generate 22 new homes from infill. This is nowhere near enough to help people who do not have a home or in poor housing conditions. So I draw Mayor and Cabinet's attention to the recommendations section 3 of the report, and I also ask James and Osama if they would like to add anything to this part 1 paper and the appendices. Thank you.
The one thing I'd like to add is I was down on the estate today at our weekly resident engagement, and some of the residents I spoke to today are living in overcrowded conditions, and this is a fantastic opportunity to provide them with new homes at the right size for their families on the estate. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Osama. Thank you, James, too. What I'll do is we'll take, we've got a speaker, which I'll take first. So if I could invite Martin Williams to come, and then afterwards, Osama and James stay close by because we may have some questions. So Martin, we've got up to 5 minutes. Just start when you're ready and press the button in front of the microphone.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. All right, okay, well, whilst I sort of like actually agree with Paul's idea that Lewisham needs sort of council housing at the moment, I think the objection I have to basically the proposal and the sort of its congruent offer is essentially this is going to do nothing to improve council housing or add to the net stock of council housing in the borough. I think the sort of the key point I want to make here actually about the proposals and about the offer really is that sort of like council housing, if you want to define it properly, in other words, homes basically sort of owned by the council, managed by the council and offered at council rent, the lowest form of affordable rent, are only going to be replaced according to this proposal. In other words, it's only long-term council tenants living on the estate, 49 according to sort of the figures in the report, that are actually going to be on the lowest and most affordable level of social rent The others are going to be sort of on London affordable rent, which I think, as the Guardian recently called it, is basically sort of like fake social housing, and it's actually pointed the finger at Lewisham Borough as being a protagonist of this. London affordable rent is essentially sort of 70 to 45% higher than council rent, and if you want to sort of take an average of a 2-bedroom flat, it's 60% higher. So essentially you're going to have a bizarre situation, if this proposal goes ahead, where you're going to have neighbours possibly living next door to each other, and one of them's going to be paying up to 200 quid a month more than the other one. So I would argue that this is sort of like a wrong and unjust, and it will do nothing to improve council stock. The other thing that's been skimmed over in this report is actually the real beneficiaries of this is going to be sort of like basically the private sector. 50% of the homes are going to be for private sale and or rent. So the key beneficiaries, in other words, most of the homes, are going to go to sort of like people who are well off enough already, if you don't mind, or they're going to go to global management asset funds for somewhere to park their money. So only 10% of these homes on this proposal are going to be sort of like earmarked essentially for the most affordable social rent, in other words the least expensive rent. 50% of these homes on this proposal are going to be the most expensive type of housing. So in no way does this improve the sort of the council stock in the area. So getting on to the offer itself, if you just cut me off when I've reached 5 minutes, getting on to the offer itself, what I'd like to say is that it's essentially sort of totally lacking in detail. And the idea that sort of residents are going to be asked to make what is an exceptionally serious decision with lasting consequences for themselves, for other people living in the area, whose homes and livelihoods are kind of contingent on that decision, and for the local community more generally. The idea that they're going to make a decision based on this lack of detailed information, I find, disgraceful actually, to be totally honest with you. Essentially what this offer as it stands is just a set of vague aspirations and empty promises, right? That's all there is. It's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes. We will try to do this, we will try to do that. Critical information about what the development or redevelopment is going to look like isn't even there. The boundaries have recently been redrawn. There's 25% less land to build on, and there's been no designs presented that actually reflect what are quite significant changes. Significant changes to what's going to be the look of the area and significant changes to the density of the area. Okay? There's no information, no detailed information about the social impact. You know, what you're going to do is more than quadruple the number of homes there. What about the impact on local schools, the impact on, health services, GPs, and sort of local amenities more generally? There's nothing in there about the environmental impact, sort of essentially the pernicious process of demolition, the extra sort of like congestion, and sort of like essentially what are 8 years of living on a building site for the residents. So there is sort of no detail about this. And I think that's the sort of crucial thing. And the point as well, I think the other point I want to raise, although it's alluded to at the beginning of the report, is there haven't been 5 clear days for this to sort of be given proper public scrutiny, I think. And I know that there's a mechanism under the Local Government Act where
I'll ask you to wrap up.
Okay, there's a mechanism, so I would urge you to sort of like, it's an important decision with serious consequences, and that means residents need to be given detailed, comprehensive information in order to make an informed choice.
Brilliant.
That doesn't exist.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you very much. Okay, if I can ask Osama and James to come back up. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a number of things that are inaccurate in that statement, and I appreciate this is a difficult time for people who don't want the scheme to go ahead. But the private sector, to say the private sector is a beneficiary of that is just not true. Every housing development needs to be funded. We do not have a magic money tree in this borough. We have to get money and we have to look at every scheme and it has to wash its face, in effect. So this is what we're doing. So sometimes we have to sell properties in order to fund the social housing. But I really want to pick up on the rents because I've said many times, it is just not true. You can't compare rent levels that were set from 60s and 70s property to new build properties. And I have some statistics for you here. So first of all, new build rents are different in terms of the way the formula is set that we have to set the homes on. And Lewisham believes that generally affordable is anywhere between formula or target rents to London affordable rents. That is what we classify as social housing. So on statistics, if we take a 2-bedroom property, which on a new build, as you say, target traditional council rents, would be £149.74p a week. That's if we're setting a new build tenancy at target rents. The London affordable rate for a 2-bedroom is £164.24. Yes, it is more expensive, but it's more expensive because it doesn't benefit from the 1% for 4 years reduction in council rents that the government imposed on local authorities, thereby taking money out of our HRA, which we could use to deliver more houses and also improve estates around Lewisham. If you compare that 2-bedroom property price to the private renters sector, you're looking at anywhere between £231 a week to £340 a week. So you compare the London affordable rent, which is a social housing model type of rent, to the private sector, and you see the difference. But we're talking 9.68% difference between a new build rent at target rate and a London affordable rent level. I would love to be able to set rents in the 60s and 70s property values, but we're not allowed to do it. So this is the difference. It is not 60%, it's not 70% more. This is the reality of what we're facing. And we all hope that we'll get a government one day that values council housing, and we will deliver more housing in terms of building on this legacy. So the private sector is not a beneficiary of this, and it is the only reason for doing it is to improve the numbers and availability of social housing for people that do not have a home. So, and the environmental aspects, yes, there's going to be some effect on the environment. Any building work is going to do that. But the council will ensure this impact is minimised, but planning will condition a lot of this. So planning will condition a demolition plan, planning will condition the environmental impact, planning will look at GP surgeries and transport and all other aspects when you bring more people into the local area. But ultimately, from a council perspective, for someone that was homeless and was only saved from being on the streets because there was a council flat there, this is something that we should all be supporting. But I completely understand that some people don't seem to go ahead. It is quite traumatic. But ultimately, we're only doing this to build more social and council homes.
Councillor Drone.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to add my thanks to your team and particularly to you, Osama. It's been a very long process, and I think it's been one which officers have done very, very well on and worked really, really hard to involve residents and get their views. I saw this myself at one of the recent drop-in sessions, and I was really impressed by that approach and your work throughout, so thank you very much. I wanted to ask about the guarantees to residents and the information that's been provided to residents. So in terms of the guarantees, Martin's previously claimed in a public meeting that existing residents would be deported. So I don't think it's funny, I've got to say. So it would be good to hear a bit more about the specific guarantees for existing council tenants and leaseholders that we've provided to them, exactly which guarantees we've provided to them. And then also I'd like to hear just a bit more on what you've done. I mentioned the drop-in sessions, but I would like to know a bit more about what you've done to provide information to residents so that they can make this informed decision. Because at the end of the day, it's not us making this decision, it's up to the residents of the estate as to whether it goes ahead.
Well, first on the offer to the different residents, all council tenants will be provided with a new council home on the rebuilt estate, with one move only, so they move from their old property to their new property. We cover all moving costs for residents and provide them with statutory home loss compensation for when they move. Their rents are set as if the redevelopment had not happened, so they'll pay the same rent in their new flat that they pay in their old flat. For resident leaseholders, we are offering them the market value of their current home plus 10% of that value on top as compensation. We're covering all the moving costs, any valuation, any legal fees as part of the moving process. We're asking them to reinvest the market value of their home into a new property on the estate. The council will hold any additional equity with no rent, no cost payable by the leaseholder. So they'll get a new property to invest no additional money. With temporary accommodation residents, again, everyone in temporary accommodations, they'll be offered a new council home on the estate. With the intention, the principle is that everyone that's there now will be able to get a new property, be offered a new home on the estate. In terms of engagement with residents, so since Mayor and Cabinet asked us to prepare this landlord offer in December, we've done very extensive engagement on the estate. We've been booking one-on-one meetings with every resident. In some cases, we've done that quite a few times. Want to talk through about what they'll be offered in detail, what their concerns are, to discuss the ballot process with them. That's kind of been a rolling programme of visits and door knocking. There were officers out on the estate tonight doing door knocking to pick up on issues that have been raised by residents. Since the beginning of June, every Wednesday, we've been on the estate from 2 till 8, opening up the community room on the estate. You can come in and ask any questions. We have like some people pop in for drinks, there's cake and biscuits, so it's just trying to make it a friendly environment. We can talk to people. When people ask questions, we write them up on the boards and answer them so everyone can see the questions people are thinking about and the answers to those questions. And the intention is just to make there's other information available there, and it's to try to make it really informal, as friendly as possible, and just so that people can pop in and ask any questions, have their concerns addressed, and get the correct information immediately. And in addition to that, then there's been lots of letters and lots of leaflets just to keep people as up to date as possible with all of the information.
Could I ask how many households you've spoken to over this period of time?
Sorry, but it's not, this is a meeting held in public, but it isn't a public meeting. So we've got the time that's been allocated.
Right.
We're at the stage now for members to ask questions.
Fair
Thank you. Are there any more questions from members? James?
Can I just make one point on that was covered by Martinelli, just around the amount of information that currently sits within the AFTER document. It's worth noting this is very much the start of the process. I know we've been doing this for a couple of years, but in terms of where we are through the development process, this is very much the beginning. The ballot is not a referendum on whether or not the development is going to go ahead. It still has to go through a planning process, and we want the design to evolve with the residents as a truly collaborative process. They'll be involved in the selection of the architects, they'll be invited to specific meetings in terms of with the architects throughout the process to challenge, to question, to advise and to help us get a scheme that the residents genuinely want. There will be a planning application at the end of that, which will come to planning committee, and there will be a formal planning process. All the ballot is doing at this point is asking residents whether or not now is the right time to regenerate the police estate.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you both for bringing this report. Thank you also to Councillor Bell, because I know a lot of work has gone into it. We pledged in the election last May that on new developments that we would include, where it's appropriate, the pledge to introduce ballots. So this is the first example during this administration where we will be going on the ballots. I'm pleased to hear that every tenant on the estate will stay on the estate in a new home, that every leaseholder has that offer as well, and also the offer to those living in temporary accommodation. And also with social rents, more social homes, at a time when I've spoken so many times before about our increasing issues around homelessness. We've got 10,000 families on the housing waiting list, 600 plus now families who tonight are in emergency accommodation, emergency hostels and bed and breakfast. So I know probably everybody in the room knows how acute the issue is in Lewisham and across London, to have more homes at social rents with lifetime tenancies as well, giving more families that security. But when it comes down to the local residents who will decide if we move forward with this scheme. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing with residents, giving them all the information that they need to make that decision. And then we will wait to hear what residents have to say, because it's quite right, as per the manifesto, that it is their decision. Can I ask all those in favour of the recommendations as set out in the report, please raise their hand? That's approved. Thank you very much. Okay, moving us on to item 5. And in item 5, this report seeks to introduce measures that will prevent residential homes in the south of Lewisham from being converted into